We have slid into home plate. Oh my goodness, I think for the first time we're actually like 3 minutes late hitting the go live button.
We are late. We are slipping. We are
I
off our
know.
game.
Well, and I've been sitting here at my desk now for like 2 or 3 hours scrambling to try to get ready, but everybody decided to call me in like the last 45 minutes. And so I've been sitting here and we're late. That's just terrible.
Well, there was a lot of scrambling going on today. I mean, all over Bossier. I mean, there was scrambling.
Including some scrambled eggs, apparently. Because, wait, am
Uh,
I hearing that right? Am I hearing a
what are you
chick?
hearing,
It's
things?
got to be a chicken or a turkey. Which one is it? I hear something.
Are are you hearing things again, Rex?
Maybe
Are we
it's a
gonna
little
need to
chicken
get
on
you
the screen. Maybe I don't know.
are we gonna need to get you counseling or something?
Some kind of something poultry counseling, I guess.
You know, they have a name for that.
Ah, well, let's discuss that name here in a little bit. All right, so yeah, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. We'll do our and the show tonight, and then we'll do our normal countdown, and then we'll come back into it. So, speaking of names for things, um, did you watch that council meeting today at all?
Oh my gosh, I think that might have been the best council meeting all year. I mean, it ranks right up there with Zamboni Gate.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, that's why we've got chicken stuff everywhere because they actually discussed chickens at the city council meeting today, of all things. And so we're going to talk
So we're
about
gonna
that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the city council, but hey, you know, we've got some guests that are going to come on the show that are wanting to be the judge in the vacant seat in the 26th judicial district, and real interested to have those folks on.
Yeah, that should be excellent. There's not too many times that you hear, discussion like this with the judicial candidates. I mean, they go to meetings and things like that, but, this will kind of have them out there in the public, so that should be pretty interesting. And we're glad to have both of them on here in just a little while.
Yeah, and I think I'll jump out there early and just say this. I really don't know that Bossier Webster or the 26 JDC can go wrong with either of these folks. I mean, I think they're both good people. And like you said, we're glad to have them on. But there's something else we're going to talk about as well, too, right?
Well, yeah, the last time we talked about any of this, we had like record numbers of viewers watching. And so, yes, we'll go ahead and say it. Apparently, a couple of lawsuits have been filed against First Bossier, or First Church, as we lovingly call it.
Wow. Now that ought to draw some attention.
Yeah, that definitely should. So, folks, for those of you that have already tuned in, there's about 56 of you. Glad to have you. We're going to do our countdown here in a few minutes, our regular deal. And yeah, so we have some First Church information to talk about. As a matter of fact, I have some copies of the lawsuits that I just downloaded to take a look at. Well, we'll take a look at that and just kind of maybe see what it's about.
All right. Well, I say we go ahead and go to our break, and we would ask those of you watching to tag a friend, text somebody, let them know we're on, let them know what we're talking about. You know, the fact that we've got the two judicial candidates that are running. They want to kind of hear what their positions are on things, and what their thoughts are. By all means, tune in. And if you want to find out about chickens in Bossier City, I mean, who knew?
Yeah. Who knew that chickens were going to become a thing? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the countdown. And folks, for those of you that are new watching, we'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. This lets us time to get a little more organized. And like Duke said, more importantly, lets you tag and share and text people and let people know that we're on. We'll be back in 2.5, maybe 3 minutes or so. And we will get started talking about all of this stuff. We'll be right back. brought to you by Eagle Truck Center, soaring to new heights. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Okay.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, already getting comments and all sorts of things. That's great. We've got, let's see how many people we have. Oh, we're up to 72 people already. So we appreciate everybody watching. And if this is your first time, welcome to Bossier Watch. If it's not your first time, welcome back.
Well, Rex, I say we deviate from the normal order. We kind of, we already had show notes built. We had a little bit of an organization. Believe it or not, folks, we do have a little bit of organization to things. The chickens can wait. And in Bossier City, that gift that always keeps giving. I think our judicial candidates are ready to move forward and jump right in. You want me to cue them up to come on in?
Yeah, it looks like we've got one that's in the green room. If you want to go ahead and cue the other one up. And, I mean, I don't know why I'm not saying their names because there's only two candidates, so it's obvious, that it's going to be Allie, Aiello and Doug Stinson. So, yeah, let's see if we can get them both in the green room and see if we can get them both live. And, well, if not, we'll try it again. Okay, so folks, what we're going to do is we are encouraging you, if you have questions for either of the candidates, once we get started here in a few minutes, ask those questions in the comments. That doesn't mean we're going to ask every question you may have. And the truth is, and they'll kind of clarify this, I think there's some things that are kind of out of bounds to answer for judicial candidates. They can correct us on that, but based on whatever the ethics are and the judicial canons and all that. So, but we do encourage you, if you got some questions, please ask them because we do watch the comments.
Yeah, and try to, look, we don't want to, hit these folks with gotcha questions and put them in a bad spot, but, try to give us a question that is a question for both candidates that would be applicable to both of them. For instance, the infamous Mark Smith has already posed a question to ask of both of them. And I got to acknowledge, I think it's a fair question for both candidates. I really do. I think they'll find humor in it. I really do.
Aha! Guest number 2 has made it. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch our screens over and I'm going to bring them both live, and we're just going to hope that the audio is good on both of them. So let me see if I can make all this technology work this evening. Okay, so Doug is going to be here. All right, Mr. Stinson, can you hear us?
I can.
All right.
Hello.
Great. Let's see if we can get Allie on. Allie, can you hear us?
I can.
Awesome, and your audio sounds great too. We're batting 1,000 right now, so that's always good. Let me see if I can get the brightness adjusted a little bit. I had it up a little much. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times it's hard to get the video and the audio right for just one guest, but two of y'all at the same time without testing either the audio or the video before. Man, y'all are on top of your game. And I'm just going to have to say, y'all may hear a chicken in the background, and just ignore that. That has nothing to do with y'all.
I don't know if I can do this with a straight face, Duke. I mean, the chicken's just, and this is serious. I mean, these are, the 26 JDC candidates. I don't know if I can do this with a straight face because of the chicken. All right.
It is dead serious. And arguably, okay, I'm going to have to do something here, Rex. I'm going to try to work on this.
You might have to put the chicken back outside. Are you going to sit there and pet the chicken while we're interviewing judicial candidates?
Rex.
All right.
Okay. Both of them are saying, what did I volunteer to do here? Why am I here?
Yes.
So, Rex, arguably, I think that our judicial, candidates and the judicial races are that's probably some of the most important votes we make. And for those people, and I don't know, maybe in the past. I mean, candidates go out and they do all their campaigning. They go to all the places that you normally go, the Republican clubs, the VFW halls, or whatever. But social media has changed things now, and I don't think that we have interviewed judicial candidates for a race before, so this is a new thing. And like you started the show, there, you got to kind of have to be careful here because these folks, uh, the legal community, they've got a thing called judicial canons, right? And y'all have ethics and standards that you have to uphold. And, you know, so we kind of have to be a little careful here.
All right.
So,
Duke, let me pause there for a second. So we got to get the technical issues out of the way. Allie, have accidentally muted yourself or something happened. So if you would, I'm going to cancel you out of the session. And if you'll click that link and come back into it, you'll come right back in. Okay, so I'm gonna knock you out for a second. All right, just come right back in with the same link, please. Okay, so we'll give Allie just a second. Sometimes that happens when you come in on mobile or on computers. Sometimes it messes with the mute settings and all that. So we'll give her just a minute to come back in.
yeah. So what we're doing tonight, we are not having a debate between these candidates. That is not the intention of this. This is not at all. But she got good audio.
I can hear you,
Hear
Allie.
me now?
Perfect. Okay, let's
Perfect.
proceed on.
Yeah.
Duke.
So this is not a debate, but basically what this is, it's an interview. And I got to tell y'all, this race is an interesting race from my perspective in Bossier because both of these two individuals, I think are going to make a great judge. And both of these two individuals are friends. And I got to tell you, Rex, and you've seen a lot of political races as well. I think this has so far been one of the cleanest races to date. And I think it's a compliment to the candidates, and it's because of them.
Yeah, I would say, I'm never a fan of the really negative stuff, and so yeah, kudos to both of y'all for so far. It's just been a real friendly race, and just a race on the judicial issues and all that, and so that's always a plus when it's not a knockdown drag out type of situation. So that's great.
So, without further ado, I think we should get the candidates to introduce themselves to the audience and, maybe give us their elevator speech, tell us why they individually think they're the best candidate, for this seat. And do either of y'all have a preference as to which goes first? I mean, we can draw straws, no, or we can pick a number between 1 and 10.
Yeah, I don't mind going first. How long do you want? I don't want to bore anybody, but yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
How about a minute, give or take a little each? If you go over,
Okay.
that's fine.
Sure. Doug Stinson, live in Benton, born and raised in Benton, married to Lauren. We have 3 kids. I went to LSU undergrad, LSU Law School, worked at a big firm in Shreveport for 4 years, did a lot of oil and gas work and a lot of complex civil litigation. Eventually went to work at the Bossier DA's office, where I started out in the juvenile division, moved up to adult court after my first jury trial, which was a murder trial. And in the last 8 years, I've been a prosecutor in adult court. And for the entire time of my legal career, I've had a civil practice, first at the large firm in Shreveport, and then I opened up my own firm in Benton, where I have different practice areas. I've done divorce work, custody work. I've tried civil cases in multiple parishes. I've done appellate work, successfully argued at the appellate level. And, what I'm most proud of, though, is my jury trial experience. I've tried a lot of jury trials, several murders, several rape cases, attempted murders, armed robbery. And that's been my passion as a prosecutor, is going after violent offenders and standing up for victims of violent crime. Through my work as a prosecutor, I've been fortunate enough to earn the trust and respect of a lot of law enforcement officials, which I'm thrilled to have their trust and respect. And Sheriff Whittington, Marshal Jim Whitman, Steve Collier, the Benton Police Chief, and Todd Gibson, the Halton Police Chief, they have all come out and publicly said they want me to be the next judge. And not one of them has ever said, we're doing this because we want a favor in the future. They're doing this based on my work product that I've put a lot of time and energy into over the last 10 years. So I just ask your supporters for their support and their vote. I feel very strongly that I have the most experience in this race, and that includes civil experience and criminal experience, which I think is important for our judges to have. So thank you all.
Allie, go ahead.
I'm Allie Aiello Stahl, and I'm a candidate for District Court Judge in Bossier and Webster Parish. I am married to Chris Stahl, who is an attorney here in town and a small business owner. We have a daughter, Elizabeth. She's 3 years old. I went to the University of Mississippi and graduated with a degree in accounting, and then I went on to Loyola Law School in New Orleans, where I got certificates in both taxation and civil law. For the past 10 years, I've had the privilege of serving as an assistant district attorney in our parish. I've prosecuted a wide range of cases, ranging from minor misdemeanor violations all the way to serious violent felony offenses. I have extensive jury trial experience, and I've also successfully argued a case at the Louisiana Supreme Court, which strengthened our sex offender registration requirements. And so I do have that experience. I am a licensed title insurance producer and work at Thaxton Title in Bossier City. Through my private practice, I do lots of different transactional type work. I do a lot of loan closings. Last year alone, we closed around 1,000 residential and commercial real estate transactions. So I do a lot of contracts, just anything that has to do with title insurance and real estate. I don't think that a judge should have any type of endorsement. I think that, politics have absolutely no place in the courtroom. That was why I decided on day one of my campaign not to seek any type of political endorsements from any politicians. I just don't think that that is where a judge or a judicial candidate should be looking for endorsements. I think that you have to have the absolute highest level of integrity and independence as a judge. And to have that, I do not think that endorsements should be allowed. Thank you again for having me.
Well, interesting. So, all right. With that said, and again, thanks, to both of y'all for those introductions. And we've already got a couple of questions coming in the comments. We'll get to some of those. Duke, you want to open it up or you want me?
Yeah, I think, just kind of starting off and, like I told you guys when we reached out to you that, look, we're not trying to get y'all in a debate, but we think it's incumbent that the people kind of know where you stand. There's a lot of issues that are important to folks. The very first one, he's on the screen here with us, the Second Amendment. I mean, that is his issue. I hate to say he's a single, issue voter, but Rex's most important issue is the Second Amendment and constitutional carry. And kind of talk about where you guys stand on that. I mean, really, that's an easy one. I told you there would be some softballs. And Doug, since you went first, Allie, go ahead and if you want to hit that one.
Sure. So I'm a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. I believe that you should be able to carry a gun whenever you want. You shouldn't have to have any type of registration through the state. The only registration that you should have to have is the U.S. Constitution, which gives you that authority to carry. It was very disappointing, that the governor vetoed that bill this past year on constitutional carry.
Excellent. Doug?
Yeah, I'm pro Second Amendment, proud gun owner, teaching my kids how to use firearms, and we enjoy going out shooting. Same situation. I was in favor of the constitutional carry and was upset that it got vetoed, and hopefully it'll come back around at some point in the future. But pro Second Amendment, believe in our constitutional rights and upholding them.
Well, that's going to make this tough if we're all in agreement with everything, all four of us. So anyway, good answers to both y'all. So we did have a comment in here, and so I want to bring this up. Somebody says, since when is law enforcement political? And I just want to address that comment real quick to remind folks that at least the sheriff is an elected official. And refresh my memory, don't we elect the city marshal? Yes, we elect the city marshal as well. So technically those are political, and that's what they were referring to. All right, so I've got a question. And Duke, I'm going to kind of skip around just a little bit, but since it was kind of mentioned in the opening comments a little bit, I want to go into and ask both candidates, you know, judicial candidates, of course, run as either a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or whatever the case may be. Should the political party persuasion really be an issue in a judicial race? I mean, if justice is supposed to be blind, what does it really matter if you're Republican or Democrat? And I guess let's see who went first last time. Allie, Doug, you want to go first this time, and then we'll switch to Allie?
Yeah. I'm running for district judge. And so I tell people all the time, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I want your support, because ultimately my job is going to be fair and impartial to everyone that comes in the courtroom. I do state openly that I'm conservative. I'm pro Second Amendment. I'm pro life, and the chances of a case, an abortion case or a gun case, coming before a state district judge are very slim. But I still put that out there so people know that the type of person I am and what my underlying beliefs are. But I don't. Once you get the job, politics are out of the window. But we do run as a party, and I am a Republican. So that's just part of our system here in Louisiana.
Okay, great. Allie, go ahead.
So I have been a lifelong Republican, but that really doesn't matter whenever you're a judge and in the courtroom. The only thing that really should matter in any case are the facts of the case, the law, and then the U.S. Constitution. Those should be the only things that matter. So it shouldn't matter whether you're Republican, Democrat, or independent. But yes, we do run on those things. And like I said, I am a lifelong Republican, and I do have, conservative values, but it really does not matter as a judge.
Okay, excellent. Duke, you're up.
Well, Rex, Michael Ferris posted a really good question, a follow-up on the Second Amendment question for both of the candidates. And I think this is a great time to plug this one in here. We just finished on that one. And he says, what are the candidates' views on red flag laws? And so I should know this. Doug went first the last time. It's Allie's turn to go first. Okay, Allie.
So the red flag laws, I think you'll have to give me a little bit more of some more context to the question for that one.
Go ahead, Rex. I know that is your bread and butter.
Well, it's basically where if you are arrested or have some issues in the judicial system with something, I don't know, let's say it's an alleged mental health issue or something, I'm making it up off the top of my head, then that could have bearing in whether you can carry anymore, where your gun rights can actually be stripped without, let's say proper due cause. And I think, so Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that what you're referring to? And we'll come back to that question here in a minute. So I think that's what he's referring to. So let me redirect the question a little bit. So in the judicial district court system, how much do Second Amendment or gun rights issues come to play in the judicial system? Obviously, the Second Amendment's federal, but how much do gun rights issues come into play? And Michael says that is correct on the red flag, which is using some other issue to strip the gun rights without, a proper hearing or whatever it may be. Okay, so Allie, with all that said, you're still up.
So yes, there are times in court where we do deal with that. We have what we call Gwynn's Law hearings now. So if you're arrested for domestic violence and you are given a bond and the judge decides that you are entitled to a bond, they can require you to turn in your firearms while you're out on bond pending the case. I think that that's a safety concern. I think that there are times where people do not have the mental capacity or have some type of issue in their life that they should not have a gun. But unless you're a felon, by law, you are allowed to carry a gun.
Okay, great. Doug, you're up.
Well, I think the Gwynn's Law, I was going to say that as well. That's an instance where we see in state court where a judge may get involved with someone possessing firearms while a case is pending. I mean, ultimately, anytime there's any sort of infringement on a constitutional right, I think it needs to be analyzed very, very carefully, used sparingly, only in the most serious cases. And just trying to protect people's constitutional rights is ultimately what a judge should try to do, and also keep the community safe. So that's how I feel about that.
I've kind of got a little follow up to that, and then I promise we will get off the Second Amendment stuff. So right now, as it stands, or correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll have Doug go first because I think Allie was first, the last one. But if you're convicted of whatever felony it may be, you're automatically stripped of your ability to own a gun legally, as well as your voting rights. So as judicial candidates, what are your feelings on, this automatic removal of basic God-given rights that are actually simply protected by the Constitution for for any felony? Do you believe that those rights should be restored? Do you believe the judge should have discretion on that? Kind of what are your feelings on that? So, Doug, you can have that one first.
Well, in Louisiana, under state law, it's not any felony that you lose your gun rights. It's certain violent offenses, which is under 14:2 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes. And then, simple burglary. There are a few other felonies, but it's not just a blanket felony rule. And, I do think the rights are granted by the Constitution. Ultimately, we do have the felon in possession of a firearm law. And as a judge, I would be required to enforce that law. And I think we're on a little, I've got to be a little careful here as a judicial candidate, not to say that I'm not going to enforce a law. Job's to apply the law as written, and that's what I'm going to do. The legislature, they're the ones that make the law, and my job's to enforce it. And so that's all I think I really need to say to that question. So
yeah, fair enough. Okay, Allie.
And I would just follow up that, a judge is not tasked with creating law or making any new law. That's up to the legislature. And so as a judge, I would just be required to follow the law, which the law in Louisiana at this time says that if you are convicted of certain violent felonies, drug convictions, and then also several other enumerated felonies, you cannot possess a firearm. And so as a judge, my hands are tied. I have to follow the law.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let me follow back up to the voting rights side of it as well, and I'll ask both of you, just again, same basic question, but let's apply voting rights to that. Allie.
So I think that there are ways you can get your voting rights back. I think if you were issued, a first offender pardon, I believe that right is, you're able to vote again after that. But again, it's not a judge's law, or it's not a judge's role to make any new law. We just have to follow the law and apply it as it's written.
Okay. And Doug.
Same scenario. There are, when people are convicted of felonies, there are often times where they stay out of trouble for a few years, and they'll come back and file for an expungement. Typically as a prosecutor, I review their record carefully, and I'm all about people improving their way of life and their conduct. And if they show a pattern of improvement, then I'm all about returning their rights to them. But as a judge, not really going to comment on whether I agree with losing the voting or not. But if an attorney brings an expungement to me, and as a judge and prosecutor and the defense attorney agree, then I'll gladly sign it, because ultimately we want people being productive members of society. So.
Okay, great answers, both of you. Thanks. All right, Duke, you want to take the reins?
Yeah, well, both of y'all's comments there segue into another question that we have. And it was kind of, what in your opinions, as being assistant district attorneys, what is your ideas of what we can do to reduce recidivism rates? I mean, surely with y'all's experience, y'all have some ideas on that. I don't remember who was first in that last segue.
I think it's Allie's turn to go first, I think.
Okay.
So I do think that
Go
we
ahead.
do have some great programs that are in place. Drug court is a great place, for people who have drug problems. I think that if you're able to complete the drug court program, which it is a very strenuous program, it takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment. But if you were able to complete it, I think that they have very good chances of going back into society and, living a productive life. I think that should, be the goal for everybody. I mean, we want people to be good, productive citizens. We don't want people to be, coming back time and time again to court, which we do see that. I mean, I personally have seen that a lot where, you get one case and then they're out on bail, they come back again and again and again. And that's obviously not what we want. So I support programs like drug court. And I know that there are other programs that you can do through the Department of Corrections. But I really do think that drug court is a good program in our area.
Excellent. Doug?
Well, recidivism, as far as nonviolent offenders, I'm all for helping people that want to help themselves. Drug court is certainly an option. We have DA diversion program, which requires people to take drug tests periodically, do community service, trying to get them on the straight path. Oftentimes, defense attorneys will come to me with a drug defendant that's in jail and ask for an OR bond where they're released without a bond if they go to rehab. I agree to those a lot because I'd rather them get help in rehab than they would get. They're going to get more help in rehab than they're going to get in jail. For instance, yesterday I had court. Man had a methamphetamine charge, which is pretty destructive drug, and I let him go to a rehab, and he went to Fresh Start in Winsboro, which is a great Christian-based rehab. Spent 7 months there, which is longer than he would have spent in jail on a possession of methamphetamine charge. And this man turned his life around. He's working, volunteering at this organization now, and that's what I want to see. And it kind of made my day yesterday hearing that this guy's not going to be back. So,
Okay. Duke, you got another one, or you want me to go ahead?
Let me get one of the simple ones out of the way. So the last few years, we've kind of been faced with, and this one's a little tricky, and I don't completely know how to word it, but everybody in the country has faced, mask mandates and the jabs. And, we had the legislature and the governor kind of go at things and a little bit, and just again, and I don't know what you can answer. You guys you be the judge of what you can answer here and how you can answer. But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on the mask mandates and the jabs. I mean, obviously it wasn't mandated to get the jab, but boy, it sure seemed like we were getting close, and it ended up being that it was our judiciary deciding whether or not we were going there or not. And that gives a lot of folks pause across the state. So I'm wondering from y'all's perspectives, what are y'all's thoughts on those things? Do you think that government is in the right to be able to mandate that people have to wear masks and they have to have jabs? I mean, where are y'all at on that is what I'm wondering. I don't know who's first.
I think I am.
Yeah, I think Doug is this time. So,
and it's going to be another boring answer, but I got to be careful. As a judicial candidate, you can't really comment on a case that may appear in front of you one day, and some of those cases are still pending. And if the government gets involved and does other mandates, there may be a case one day that ends up in the 26th Judicial District. And so I don't feel like that's a question I can really give an opinion on. I would have to, if that case comes before me, review the law and the facts of the case. And I know that's not what y'all wanted to hear, but there are these canons that we have to abide by as candidates, and I don't want to violate those before I'm even on the bench.
Fair enough. Allie?
Allie, we're assuming you take the same position, right?
Yep. I do. I mean, I totally agree that I think that could possibly come up as an issue in the district court, especially on a vaccine mandate type issue. So I think that, we're probably prohibited from answering that type of question.
So that gives me my follow-up question. Here is my follow-up question. So if I'm to choose between y'all, and that is my issue, and I'm a voter, how am I to be able to know where the person I want to, which one of you is the person I want to vote to for, if that's my issue? How can I know that? And that kind of goes to a wider thought pattern. And in judicial races, a lot of times it seems like in politics we can't know where our judicial candidates always stand on things. Am I articulating what I'm thinking here, Rex, correctly? Am I getting there?
Yeah, I think so. At which, again, I think it's going to probably be difficult for either candidate to answer correctly. But I guess maybe let me add a little bit to it, and to kind of help out a little bit. As a judicial candidate, if you have made opinions known at, let's say social media or at a meeting in the past before you decided to run as a judge, how are those opinions, used once you're a candidate? So right now, for instance, if of course you're not comfortable and can't really say on the mask mandates as a judicial candidate, well, what if you had talked about it before? Does that kind of help out a little bit? I know this is difficult, so do the best you can with it. And Allie, I think you're first. Yeah.
Right. So, I think that I'm obviously have been a lifelong Republican. As I said before, I regularly attend the Women's Republican of Bossier meetings. I'm always about less government and less government intrusion, but I don't think I can give you any type of specific answer when it comes to, vaccine mandates.
Doug, you're up.
Well, you've got two conservative Republicans running for judge. So, yeah, I'm for less government. I think ultimately when you're selecting a district court judge, experience matters. And having 14 years experience as a civil attorney, 10 years as a prosecutor, 2 years of that being the juvenile prosecutor handling every juvenile case in Bossier Parish, along with child in need of care cases, and then the jury trial experience I have prosecuting murder cases, rape cases, attempted murders, armed robbery, and just the areas of practice that I've had in my civil practice. The firm I worked for in Shreveport doing complex litigation, and then now I have succession practice area, divorce, custody. I think experience is really what should matter when selecting a state district court judge, and that would be my answer to that question is, what would differentiate? I feel like experience matters. So.
Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, and we understand that there's, like we said at the beginning of the show, there are certain questions that you can't necessarily answer, so we get it.
Well, one follow-up statement, Rex, before you move to the next question, and I know we're ready for that, but I think you guys right now are doing something that I hope is the future. That because I believe social media is the future in politics, and having live interviews and talking to people and kind of getting to know the candidates better, because you can go to all the clubs and you can give the elevator speech and maybe answer a few questions there, but really the voters don't ever get a chance, especially with the judicial candidates, to kind of really get down in the weeds with them. The general public doesn't really know y'all's limitations. And I think the more they know your limitations, the more they can have interaction with you. I think that kind of gets people closer. And a wider view, and I'm going to jump just a little bit ahead. I think, and I'll say this, myself, I'll say myself, I'm disenchanted with the legal system. And I think you may agree with it, you may not agree with it, but I think there is a large majority of people in this country, and I'm not saying because of the local district level, but I'm saying from what they see coming out of DC, from the federal judiciary, I think people are becoming less and less content with kind of the way things are going. And, I'm really proud that both of y'all are on here taking questions. You haven't put any limitations on us hitting you. You've said basically that you'll answer what you can, so long as you don't break the cans. Anyway, sorry, I had to ramble. Just had to get that off my chest. Rex, go.
Okay, so we'll switch back to a question, or actually, I guess Yeah, it's sort of a question statement. But anyway, should be pretty simple. And I ask this of every candidate, doesn't matter what the office is. My go-to is the Second Amendment and this one. So define what it means to be a conservative to you as succinctly as possible. And I forget who's first this time. I think Allie's first.
I went first last time, but I'll be
Okay.
happy to go first again if you want me to.
Well, we'll be
So-
fair. Doug,
Okay.
yeah, let Doug, you go ahead and answer it, and then we'll switch back to Allie. Sorry about that. So define what it means to you to be a conservative as succinctly as possible.
Limited government, applying the law as written, not legislating from the bench, and that's as succinctly as possible. Those things.
Fair enough. Okay, Allie, go ahead.
Less government intrusion, having the right to bear arms. I think that all of those things are, less spending, staying within the budget, all conservative things. Lower
Okay.
taxes too, obviously.
And y'all did what I asked. Y'all kept it very succinct. And that's going to kind of segue to a question from the commenters out there, from Paul Johnson. And he wrote a long one, so I'll make it really short here. And this will be Allie up first this time. Is the Constitution a living and breathing document, or do the words mean what they say, or does it change over time? We hear this a lot, whether it's a living, breathing document, or do you take it at its literal interpretation? So he's talking obviously about the federal Constitution, but I guess that could kind of sort of apply to the state too as well. But anyway, so do you think it's living, breathing document, or is it supposed to be literal interpretation, Allie?
So, I think you have to interpret it as it's written, but obviously you have to apply it as times change. We have a lot of things that they probably didn't anticipate back whenever the Constitution was written. But I do think that you're supposed to go by exactly what it says. And, you can't just, make it say what you want it to say. Obviously, it says what it says, and you have to go by that.
Okay, great. Doug?
Well, when I'm applying the law, I'm a strict constructionist. I believe that the Constitution means what it says. When I'm dealing with state statutes, I read them as they're written, and that's what I intend to do as a judge.
Okay, excellent. Great answers. Let's see. They had one other. Oh, here's a question. And this is not in our notes, Duke, although we talked about it. So I will guess that both of you have heard about this. What was it called? The Mr. Coffee Bean Initiative or whatever that Sheriff Prater over there raised the red flag on. So I'm going to ask you, that initiative, and again, I'm summarizing just a little bit that I've read, is a program to help certain, offenders come back into, or come out of the prison system and all that, and apparently get a teaching certificate and that sort of thing. And there was a big hoopla raised about it. I'll phrase the question this way: if you're familiar with the coffee bean situation, do you support programs like that, and maybe that one in specifically, or what are your thoughts on that? If you haven't heard of it, obviously that's fair enough too, because it was in the news just a couple of days ago. I think Doug's first.
Yeah, so if it's a current event, we're about a week and a half away from Election Day. I'm completely ignorant to current events right now. I've been campaigning, spending as much time with my family as possible, so I haven't heard about that. Ultimately, I'm for rehabilitation programs. I'm not sure about the teacher thing, but ultimately, I want people in jail coming out to be rehabilitated so that they don't reoffend and don't continue the criminal cycle that so many choose to do.
Okay, Allie.
I'm all for rehabilitation, but I do not think that felons should be teaching our children. We should all be thanking Sheriff Prater for that. I just don't think that the classroom is the place for felons to be.
Okay, good enough answer. And I want to make sure and let Kaylee Larkin know, because she watches our show all the time, that was her question, or her comment, her question. So I want to make sure and give her credit for that. All right, Mr. Lowry, you managed to keep the chicken quiet over there. You're up again.
I think the chicken is asleep. Oops, I let our third guest slip a little bit there. So, was that too brutal for our judicial candidates?
I think it was pretty fair. I mean, we could ask them to, debate each other and ask each other questions and do a knockdown drag out. But I think this is going great so far.
I do as well. And I just want to say, I mean, to whichever one of you prevails, I wish you luck. And frankly, I think whoever doesn't prevail, I think it's only a matter of time before you're going to be sitting as a judge anyway. And that's why I think it's important, because both of you guys are young. Both of you, have a long future ahead of you. And again, I believe we need to get more of the judicial candidates out in the public eye, asking them questions, because who knows, one of you guys could be on the Supreme Court one day. Who knows these days? So get you early on record on things before there's a court case where you say, oh, wait a minute, I can't talk about that. We need to know where you stand. I mean, don't y'all agree maybe that we should have, more judicial candidates, know a lot more about them? Because if you haven't been watching what's going on in D.C., I mean, I got some problems with what's going on there. In fact, I articulated an idea here. I'll put it out here, and I will see what you guys think about this. Washington, D.C., think about this. So if you've got to go to court in Washington, D.C., and you have to have a jury of your peers, the city's 90% Democrat, 10% Republican. If I'm a conservative, how will I get a fair shake in D.C.? And if I'm an employee of the government in Washington, D.C., and I do something wrong and I have to go to court, how am I not going to get a pat on the hand when I actually should maybe get something far more, severe? So my thoughts is I think that somebody, maybe a congressman or a U.S. senator, should, make some bill or something or another to maybe automatically you don't get a hearing in a court in the District of Columbia. It goes randomly to any of the federal, judicial districts randomly across the country, where you may get a more balanced, populace there, right? Does what I'm saying make sense? That's not a question. I'm just wondering, can you guys, what do you think that's a good idea? Is that a bad idea? Where am I wrong there? What's my flaw?
Whoever wants to grab it, go ahead. We'll throw that up as just hanging in the air.
That's not a question. That is the curveball question for you guys tonight, because y'all are such good sports.
Well, there is the option for a change of venue if you really feel like you'll be biased by a jury.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, good answer. Okay. Doug, any commentary on Duke's getting a much better venue?
You got the change of venue, and you also have the appellate process, and hopefully the system works the way it's supposed to work, is all I can really say about that question that wasn't a question.
Yeah, there's that whole appeals process and Supreme Court thing, huh?
Well, I got to tell you, if I'm Hunter Biden or I am Strzok or any of them folks, I'm staying in D.C. I'm not going to St. Louis. I'm not going to New Orleans. I'm not going different places. I'm staying in D.C. That's what I'm telling you. But if I'm a January 6er, I mean, I would want to go, but for some reason, none of them folks are getting out of D.C. They're not able to get their case moved to outside of there. I don't know. That's why y'all are attorneys and make the big bucks, right?
All right, so speaking of that, we'll kind of wrap it up with this. And again, like Duke said, I appreciate both of y'all coming on and taking the time to, take some questions and all that sort of thing. So our good friend David Crockett has a question that I think would be a good wrap-up for everything. So David says, both two amazing professionals. He says, what are your goals if you don't win? And so as we wrap it up, maybe kind of just do a little closing statement, and hey, if you don't win, are you going to stay with the DA's office? You staying in private practice? Any plans? And I have no idea who is supposed to be first. Doug first, and then we'll go to Allie.
Yeah, this doesn't define who I am. I'm going to continue being a husband and a father and a Christian, going to church, and going to continue working at the DA's office, standing up for victims of crime, and continue my private office to make a living here in Benton, and continue being the town attorney for Benton, and also working with the DeSoto Sheriff's Office. But hopefully it doesn't come to that, but I'm going to continue being the person I am, which has gotten me here today.
Excellent. And Allie, go ahead.
Well, I'm planning on winning, of course, but I definitely plan to stay with the DA's office. I really enjoy my job at the DA's office. I enjoy trying cases, helping victims. That's one of the most rewarding parts of the job at the DA's office is when you get to help a victim. I helped a child victim back in January, and I feel really good about it. So yes, I will continue to work at the DA's office and still continue to do my private practice, which includes being a title insurance producer and working at Thaxton Title, and just continue my civil practice and keep doing what I've always done and being a wife and a mom and all the good things.
Excellent answers, both of y'all. And, again, I'll just kind of wrap it up and then Duke take over with your part of it. But, again, I just want to thank both of y'all for coming on. Good luck to both of y'all. I agree. I think either one of y'all would make a great candidate. This is going to have to make me sit there and weigh back and forth and maybe flip a coin and see who I'll cast the vote for. But, again, thanks for coming on, Duke.
Okay, wait a minute. There is one important question we didn't ask. I'm sorry, and I know I'm dragging this out. Because, look, there's people watching.
We're at 120-something people watching right now, so actually 130.
This may be the deal breaker. We did not give them the abortion question.
Oh,
we didn't give them the abortion question. I already know where they stand, but the people watching need to know where they stand. They probably want to know that. That's an important one in our neck of the woods. You for abortion, you against, and any exceptions? Yes, no, just real quick.
Mm-hmm. So I am 100% pro-life as a wife, a mother. I just can't imagine anything other than being pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception, and nothing you could ever tell me changes that. I don't think that there are exceptions. I'm very hard on my stance at pro-life.
Pro-life as well, 100%. Pro-life as well, 100%. No exceptions. Value life, and father 3 amazing children, and couldn't imagine not having them. So 100% pro-life.
Awesome.
Well, guys, we appreciate you coming on. I think you guys are an example of how a political campaign should go. You're running on your merits as being good folks, and I appreciate that. We don't see that often. We haven't seen that often in Bossier Parish, and you guys are kind of charting the course forward for us, and I respect you both.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Okay, good luck to both of y'all, and hey, y'all have a good evening.
Y'all too.
You.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, that went well. It went better than I thought. I was nervous about, do we get into them judicial canons questions where we get them tricked up and then they go debating each other and arguing, and then they both get fired as attorneys, and then it's Bossier Watch's fault.
It's all our fault. Yeah.
See, that wasn't so bad.
No, I think it went great. Look, I got to tell you, other than just some chance meetings before with Allie, that's really the first interactions that I've had with Allie. And look, they're both great candidates. That's really a tough decision. Really tough. And we've got some comments, several of them saying great segment, nice segment, and all that. So we appreciate everybody watching. We're at about 130 plus people watching now. So we're going to move on down the list. But yeah, give us some feedback in the comments. Let us know what you think. Hey, look, go over to both of their Facebook pages and give them a comment. Let them know what you thought about their answers here on Bossier Watch, and that helps give them feedback and, and let them know that, hey, it was worthwhile for a judicial candidate to come on to a Facebook and YouTube live show.
So Rex, look, did you know that there's some folks in Bossier City that are suffering from electorophobia?
I'm not even going to try to type that up. Well, I guess I could copy and paste it out of the notes. But no, I had no idea. Is this like some kind of election cycle, fear of election cycles? What is this?
Well, I'm trying to tell you that.
Are you trying to count your chickens before they hatch?
Well, in Bossier City today, I mean, electorophobia was on display. Definitely.
Yes.
And it's a real thing. There is a thing called electorophobia, and there is a treatment for it. Do you know what that is?
I don't know what the treatment is. Go ahead and enlighten us.
Well, the treatment is actually exposure.
Ah, okay. So you have to wait a minute. I have to be careful how I say this. This is, it's an adult show, but we try to be somewhat child friendly. So you have to expose yourself to chickens.
You got to get exposed. Now, wait a minute. You kind of jumped the gun again a little bit. You said chickens. Now, what on earth? Now, this is going to be difficult because I can't get through the notes, doing all this. But what I'm going to tell you.
Oh, wait. Now, I ain't no chicken expert.
Electorophobia is a real thing. Now, it's a real thing in Bossier City, and Bossier City has got some electorophobia going on.
Okay, so define the word. Don't make me have to Google this real quick. What is electorophobia?
Electorophobia is you've got a fear of chickens. You got some kind of problem with chickens. And there's some folks in Bossier got some problems with some chickens. I'm going to tell you right now.
Well, let's see. How many city councilmen are there? I think there's, 7? Is that right? So we know 7 that apparently are scared of chickens.
There's 7 of them got them showing up problem. Now, people are wondering, how in the heck did I get on a show where I'm seeing a chicken? I got judicial candidates. I got a chicken. I mean, this could be, look, them judicial candidates could have to rule on chickens. They could. This is serious stuff. I mean,
I'm going to call Kara right now and tell her to let Bo in the room. So you can have the chocolate lab and the chicken running around.
I mean, look. All right. So look, I'm not kidding. You got to pull it up. You got to go to cut 4. So that
I got to get to a straight face first, Duke. Come on.
You got to go to cut 4 in Bossier. They're trying to get a chicken code.
All right, hold on. Give me a second here. It's going to take me about 10 or 15 seconds to get us kind of caught up here. So
you ain't got to go to cut 4. Go to cut 1 and
hold on. I'm bringing
electorophobia.
All right,
you didn't believe about that.
Well, let's start with cut 1, and then we'll move up to cut 4. Hold on just a second. Let me get us here. Oh, wait a minute. Your chicken's taking up too much room. There we go. Oh, wait. I got to zoom back so we get the chicken in. Okay, folks, you should see on your screen the definition of, how to overcome electorophobia, or the fear of chickens. Who knew? It's a rare condition characterized by an intense fear of chickens. The word comes from the Greek words elector, which means rooster, and phobos, which means fear. It is considered a specific phobia. Well, if it's a fear of chickens, that's pretty specific.
Well, what I'm going to tell you, it has infected the Bossier City Council. They got it. They need some help.
They definitely, they need help in more ways than one. But for those of you that don't know, hey, are y'all having fried chicken here in a little while? Y'all got some mashed potatoes cooking too, or what?
Well, if David Montgomery has his preference, I mean, it's going to be Zaxby's, but that's another matter on its own. So we got to go to the video, and it's ironic that we're talking about this because King David, y'all know that King David had some commentary today on chickens.
Yes, he did. And I think he may have actually clucked like a chicken. We got to get to that and see. So let me get our screen switched over here. Let me get everything set in the software. All right. So let's see.
So they're having all this dialogue. I got the video timed up, ready to go and hit play. So they're having all this discussion on the chickens. I mean, and this was just weird. I'm going to tell you. Okay. Settle down. It's good. They just all want to see you and they want to hear you. All right. So it starts off. Here's the first thing. Here, I don't know if this was the cat that was kind of pushing about getting the chickens or what have you, but
No,
listen to what this guy says.
yeah. So you want to talk? You talking about the creepy 50-year-old deal?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me get us back to the creep of all things, not just chickens. It's creepy 50-year-old. Yeah. So this guy was up there and he was talking about chickens and, well, yeah. Let me just play it, and this will give you a good idea of the conversation that went on.
I don't know what the stuff is, you know.
It's just whenever I got 50-year-old men trying to be sneaky, it kind of creeps me out, and asking doesn't hurt. And if it
Talk
doesn't
about 50-year-old
override,
men, okay?
I figure if it doesn't override covenants,
What's he talking
you
about?
can't.
Creepy old 50-year-old man. What the heck?
Well, I'm not to give a little context to that, folks, and some of you may or may not have watched the actual live stream, but he was talking about, I think his neighbor wanted to build an extra tall privacy fence to have chickens back there, but where nobody could see it. I'm assuming specifically nosy neighbors or Karens in the neighborhood. No offense to actual Karens watching the show. And probably more importantly, the city health inspector or city inspector or whatever. And I don't know, I guess his neighbor's maybe 50-year-old and some creepy guy. I don't know. The whole thing was kind of odd because he said he wasn't for or against it either way. This guy right here is very strange.
Yeah, and they get this other lady up there, and she gets to talking about that she's got a service chicken. You know, it keeps her comfort and all that, and she gives all the eggs away. It ain't about the eggs for her; it's about keeping her calm and stuff. And somehow or another, there's some question about the chickens clucking and what it means when they're clucking. But what was even stranger was at the 33:19 mark when King David proceeds to ask her about. Well, what does it mean when they hum?
Yeah, here we go. I'm just going to hit play. Here we go.
Coming up to the mic, if you will.
Whenever you hear the famous bark, 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 then they'll do that for about 30 seconds. That's what's called an egg song. It's usually an indication that they've just laid an egg.
What about when they hum?
Hum?
Yeah, when you're walking up and they're sitting on the nest and they go,
Oh, they're warning you not to get near them. They might be
yeah,
greedy.
that's what I thought.
Wait a minute. We got to go back and play that again. Folks, y'all listen to this very closely. Hold on. We're playing this again. Let me
We got
get,
serious business in Bossier City.
this is serious business. Here we go. All right, listen closely, folks.
Whenever you hear
King David
the
is going to
famous
sing.
bark, 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 then they'll do that for about 30 seconds. That's what's called an egg song. It's usually an indication that they've just laid an egg.
What about when they hum?
Hum?
Yeah, when you're walking up and they're sitting on the nest and they go,
Oh, they're warning you not to get near them. They might be
yeah,
greedy.
that's what I thought.
See,
Yeah.
the chickens know about David.
Mine have never hurt
Chickens
me, I assure
instinctively
you, but,
know about David
some of them
Montgomery.
will.
Yeah, stay away from David. He's apparently eating plenty of fried chicken.
I mean,
Wow.
how does he know they hum?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, look,
How
I'm no
does he
chicken
know?
guy. I eat chickens, you know. I had never, I don't think we had some ducks one time, but I don't think we ever had chickens.
So you got the chicken whisperer here, and she's saying the chickens know. They're saying get out of Dodge. David's coming.
Look, folks, I would highly encourage you to, we'll put a link in the notes or whatever, but go to YouTube and look up the Bossier City Council on YouTube and click on today's show, today's meeting that they stream live, and go up to about the 25-minute mark and listen to this whole chicken segment. We don't have time to play it all tonight, but just trust me, it is entertainment gold.
Yeah, and just in case everybody wants to know, I mean, our third guest here, this is a rescue chicken fleeing Bossier. You know, it's like one of the evacuees from Ukraine. I mean, they're getting out of Dodge while they can, and I rescued this one tonight.
Hold on, we're going to zoom into the chicken. There she goes. The chicken is the star. Hey, look, I tell you, I didn't realize you were so talented and apparently a chicken whisperer, because you have done well so far keeping that chicken maintained on a live show. You said the chicken would sit there. I didn't believe you.
I'm probably going to have my eyes raked out at any moment with this thing. I probably better put it down. But anyway, so how did the chicken whispering and the chicken code go in Bossier today? So did the council decide that, hey, they're going to let people have chickens, or are they going to make them go to KFC's or Zaxby's?
Well, the motion ended up failing, so let's see how they vote. Now, I just want to point out this guy right here, actually, he was against rescinding the chicken restrictions, and he brought up the disease issue and all that sort of thing. So that guy was the only one there that really spoke against the chickens, but the motion failed anyway. Let me see if I can jump up to that. There we go. So you'll see that Vince voted actually for repealing, but apparently he made a mistake. So let me hit play and we'll hear that.
I'll take that.
Mr. Maggio,
Yeah, I gotta switch my vote
what do you want your what do you want your vote to be?
against.
Against.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion fails.
So they were all, there you go, you can see it now, all 7 of them were unanimously against repealing the restriction on having a chicken. So no chickens for y'all unless you go to Popeye's Southern Classic, pick your favorite chicken place or whatever in town.
Now listen, the debate on chickens in Bossier City was not the only hot topic at the Bossier City Council meeting today. There was actually an ordinance put forward for some transparency in Bossier. Now, I'm wondering, everybody watching, how do y'all think that went?
Yeah. Do you think the city council was for a little more transparency, or do you think they were against more transparency? Let us know in the comments before we jump up to that. And I guess we can kind of maybe set the context of it a little bit. So, Duke, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an ordinance introduced to require an affidavit be signed that state law had been followed as far as contracts. In other words, basically no kickbacks. You were gonna be required to sign an affidavit that no kickbacks had happened.
Yeah, pretty much that's the deal. There's already one in state law that says that, hey, you have to sign this affidavit on, for engineers, for subcontractors, for individuals, anybody that does any business, you got to sign this thing saying that, basically there ain't no funny business going on. Well, anyway, so Chris Smith had the wonderful idea, well, you know what? Why don't we just put that in the city ordinances? What could be the harm in it? Let's put it in the city ordinance. And boy, did he get a response. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, think what would be the harm in having this in the ordinances? King
David's been asleep at the wheel now for, I don't know, a couple of months at the city council meetings for the most part, but he totally woke up King David's wrath on this subject, didn't he?
Well, I got to tell you, and I haven't watched the video, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Chris Smith was humming from across the table there. He was humming at David, and David took notice after the chicken whisperer.
It brought back visions of those chickens that attacked him.
It had to. That had to have been what it was. I mean, Chris was humming at him because David lost his crap. But
yes, he did.
I mean, we're going to show it. We got to show it. So, but the city attorney, right out of the gate, at the 420013 mark, I mean, he tries to enlighten us on, we follow state laws, that this is in state law.
Yeah. All right.
Roll with it.
Here we go.
It's an ordinance. The state of Louisiana has a revised statute of 38:2224, I believe, that prohibits the employment of what's known as a solicitor, which is basically a third party to secure a contract of public works, basically for alteration, construction, demolition of public projects, public buildings, roads, things of that nature.
Notice David has his hand on his forehead. He's getting warmed up.
We have And what the law requires is an affidavit from the contractor, basically stating that we did not employ a third party or what's termed as a solicitor to secure that contract for either a fixed price or the percentage of the contract. It's basically an anti-kickback type ordinance. Our statute for the state of Louisiana, since its enactment, we've always followed it. In fact, just to be on the safe side, I talked to Finance and Lily, and it's this affidavit required by this statute. We do it anyway. So it's redundant, in my opinion. You know, the problem that I see with it, if we start copying every state law into our code of ordinances, we're already required to follow the state law. We already do follow the state law.
Hey, wait a minute.
Whoa. Did
It's
y'all,
not
I'm going to pause it right there, folks. Did y'all hear that? He said they already follow the state law. Now, maybe in theory they like to.
No, I'm wondering, for some reason, Shed Road is popping in my head. And, you know, some reason, you know, on Shed Road and the contract with JB James, and that the city can kind of back out. I mean, they already follow state law. Okay.
Well, and look, here's another angle to this.
What about
if they follow?
What about walking quorums, Rex?
Yeah, they certainly didn't follow that.
Walking quorums.
Yeah, that's actually in the law. What about, you know, the whole UL Coleman lawsuit? I mean, there had to be violations of some state laws at that point for that suit to be filed. If they followed state law or followed the law all the time, there would never be a lawsuit against a city. Think about that concept for a minute.
But they all follow the law. There's no. I mean, we're getting ahead of it. Let them finish. Let them keep going.
Yeah. All right. So here we go.
Ordinances, but we're still bound to follow it. We still follow this one, but if the council wishes to enact it into the code of ordinances, it's not going to hurt anything. Just in my opinion, it's not necessary.
But it could set a precedence where we start replicating state and federal law, because in our oath of office, we swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America as well as the Louisiana State Constitution. So each of us sitting here today as elected officials follow both the Constitution of the U.S. and the state. We follow all federal and state laws, and I think what you're telling us, it would just be redundant.
Just wait, folks. This gets better.
Of replicating laws on our city code of ordinances. So I'll be voting against this.
And for the record, I sponsored this.
Trust me, y'all want to
definitely
hear
not
and watch this, folks.
Just copy every law that the state or federal government has, but this would essentially help constituents and voters know that they can trust their government when it comes to public bids and public contracts. And you know, I think we're all aware that at every level of government, people have concerns, and so for us to say, hey, look, we are transparent. You know, there's nobody getting kickbacks that does business with the city, so you can trust that we'll be good stewards of your money. I just thought that it was a good government piece of legislation that I would bring up.
So, again, I'll refer to our lawyer and city attorney. So there's an implication that our public bids and what we're doing is not transparent and that we're not following law.
Here we go.
So when you say you're going to
there's an
pass
implication
something to help people believe that we're not doing something, when in fact we have been for the 20 years that I've been serving on this council, we have done everything by the book and by the law. Mr. Hall can attest to that. All the previous mayors and the councils that sat here before you, we can attest to anyone in this city that we have abided and obeyed the federal and state laws of this nation. And give me one instance that someone has the implication that we have done something nefarious or underhanded in the bid law.
I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything nefarious or outside of public bid. I've just thought that
Okay,
this
wait
was,
a minute. I got
as
one.
I was
Wait a
doing
minute.
some
All right,
research, I just
I'm
thought-
gonna hit the pause,
Hold
Jay.
on. I'm just saying, well, if there's nothing been behind closed doors and nothing nefarious, then why can't we all know what happened with UL Coleman? Why is all that hidden?
Why is all of it hidden? Look, I want to bring
Well,
up our
I mean-
good friend Ryan Haygood commented triggered. that's a great word for that.
David Montgomery, if there's nothing to hide, then please step forward tomorrow and tell everybody what about UL Coleman. Let's put it all out there. Let's not hold nothing back. And while we're at it, if there's nothing to hide, you know, the Shed Road and Union Pacific Railroad debacle.
Yeah.
Let's let it all out there. I mean,
Hey.
fulfill our public information request
There
for
you go.
emails of Pam Glorioso.
Amen.
You
Preach
know,
it,
on
brother.
Manchac. Why, if everything is on the up and up and there's nothing to hide, then why can't we get those public information requests filled? What if everything's fine? And I mean, I don't know. Maybe if somebody watching, maybe David's watching, maybe he can chime in and he can say why things have to be hid on the UL Coleman, why things have to be hid on Shed Road, why things have to be hid on Manchac invoices and the emails of Pam. Why is that, King David? Why is that?
I'd like to point out that Jacob Thomas commented, "Chicken got his feathers ruffled." Charles says he getting awful defensive. Grady Davis says, "Hey, you should have just yelled point of order." Michael Ferris says, "Bag of money on a porch." Yeah. So yeah, what's the deal, King David? Why are you the only one getting ridiculously offensive and mad? It's that old smellers of fellers kind of thing.
I mean, he lost his stuff. He lost his mind right there. He's pulling out the Constitution.
You know, my boys, when they were
He
teenagers,
literally cited the Constitution, Rex.
the Constitution of America, too. My boys, when they were teenagers, heck, they even still do it now. If I call them out or their mother does on something that they've done wrong, boy, they get big, mad, and defensive, too, and, you know, try to divert the attention. So he's doing the same thing here. All right.
Well, I'm just wondering, since they follow state law, I mean, it's also state law that any bids in state government, you know, or professional services that are over $500,000, it goes back to the legislature. Does anything over $500,000 go back to the council?
No, because they don't shop around.
That's right. Wait a minute. Well, we don't shop. That's right.
Yeah. So, all right, let's hit play. I want to listen to another minute or two of this. Hold on, we'll suffer through it.
This was a good government piece that we could add to our code of ordinances to make sure that our constituents know that we are good stewards of their money. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. And the fact that it's a Louisiana revised statute, the fact that it's something that we're already doing, all this would do is, going forward, make sure that it is a requirement of the city. So it's...
All right, I want to pause right there, and let me flip back over. Let's see, give me a second here.
I'm just wondering, what does everybody think? Do they think David was triggered?
Yeah.
Why would he have had the response, I mean, he lost his crap. Do y'all not think that he just like jumped out of his skin right there for some reason?
Yeah.
Why on earth would he have lost it?
And look, this is the city council agenda. This is actually the ordinance. It's ordinance, whatever it is, of 2022, or would have been, prohibiting payment to a solicitor for the purpose of securing a public works contract. And so they put the whereas a state statute already prohibits this. Well, it just prohibits it. What Chris Smith's ordinance was going to do was amend or add to the city code of ordinances an affidavit attesting that city contract was not secured through employment or payment of solicitor. So literally, you were still going to follow the state law. You were just going to sign a piece of paper validating with your signature that you had no knowledge of a payment, or contract was that the contract was not secured through employment or payment of a solicitor. Literally signing off on it, not just, well, yeah, the law says we're not going to do that, but if somebody looks the other way or doesn't know about it. That's what Chris was suggesting that his ordinance would add to the code of ordinances, was adding that affidavit. Not really duplicating the law, because the law doesn't require you to sign an affidavit to that fact, I don't believe. Now, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. It's revised statute 38:2224, if somebody wants to look it up real quick.
Kaylee Larkin says, triggered, ask the fired purchasing department employees for the last 20 years. Neil Irwin, Link Coleman, fired water and sewer department employees. Shall I keep going? Again, Rex, in a previous show, we did our expose on what we had learned about going on in Bossier City and had witnesses, to some of the things, overbilling. Remember us talking about that? But
Yeah.
King David just said they follow the law. There's no question on anything.
Yeah. They don't shop around, and, they always follow the law.
But what about what Neil Irwin does? Can anybody say what Neil Irwin charges the city of Bossier for services?
Specifically for consultations?
We can't, because that should be public information. But in Bossier, they follow Louisiana law, which is don't have to provide anything if we don't want to provide it. We'll just thumb our noses at you, and transparency's out the window. So, Rex, what do you think? What do you think Mayor Tommy Chandler, where is he at on all this? What do you think where was he at? You think the bastion of transparency, do you think he stepped up to the plate and said, you know what, I agree, I think we should have transparency?
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's just go back over to the replay screen, and let's go ahead and hit play and listen to more of this, because this is important. This goes to the heart of how some of these city councilmen think at their core. It really does, folks. Such a simple thing.
Do you know of any other municipality that have put this in place?
There are several municipalities that have this piece in their code of ordinance. I'd be happy to email you those cities that have brought this into their local code of ordinances. This would not be, this is not something that is unheard of, and I'd be happy to provide that to you.
So your purpose is to cause.
And so that's Darby getting Chris to kind of clarify.
More transparent?
No, my purpose is to ensure that taxpayers of Bossier City can have faith that there's nothing nefarious going on.
I'm going to pause right there. In the comments, folks, how many of y'all think that nefarious things probably go on with our city council and have in the past? How many of you think nefarious things have gone on and may still be ongoing with the city council? Let us know in the comments. All right, here we go. Let's see what Tommy thinks.
Not today.
Well, let me.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, one other thing. They're all harping on this as a state law. What's the trouble of having it, in the code of ordinances in Bossier City, to where not only if you were to do this and or not do this, that you broke a state law, but you also broke a law in Bossier City with a monetary penalty? Who said that you can't have multiple violations?
Yeah.
Apparently, everybody except for Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds think that, let's just leave it to the state law to where we can send it. Maybe we can court shop.
Well,
we can.
The only problem there, Duke, is you would have to have prosecutors and a judiciary, and maybe these, either Doug or Allie that were on tonight, that would actually prosecute and decide on a case brought forward about the city council and not hide it like they did with the Coleman deal. But yeah, let's see what Tommy has to say here in a second. Good points there.
We don't know who will be sitting on this city council in 30, 40, 50 years from now. We don't know who the mayor will be in 30, 40, 50 years from now. So for me, it's looking forward and making sure that we set Bossier up in the future for the best possible situation that it can be in.
Okay, now I have to speak in agreement with Mr. Montgomery. You know, being on the city council for the years that I've served, you know, we may have not done all things right, but we've done those things that we knew were transparent and that was advantageous to
Oh,
the people we
like
serve.
Link Coleman,
And I
the
think
Coleman stuff?
our
Yeah, they've all
Maybe.
forgotten about that.
place
I haven't
is
seen him step
representative of
up.
that.
How
I haven't
much does
seen
that
Darby
cost
step
us?
up.
And I
How
would
much does
vote
that cost the
to
city?
add this to the,
Yeah,
federal
anyway,
ordinance.
but Darby does do a good thing here.
Council,
I've got something.
Oh, wait, let's hear,
Yeah,
let's
I
hear
mean,
Brian
it's-
first.
Not saying that anything has been done wrong on this council. I mean, I'm a lifelong citizen of Bossier, 50 years. I mean, if everything has been done right and everything over all the years has been done right, I mean, I don't see why we cannot put this in. If everything's been done right, all we're doing is just adding one more step into everything. I mean, it's just putting it in there if it's no reason that we couldn't vote yes on this.
well, I don't know, I think somebody has to prove, or prove we've done something wrong. We haven't done anything wrong.
Whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
Wait a
Did y'all
minute.
hear that? Bubba Don just says, wait a minute, somebody has to prove we've done something wrong before they can add something in there to help show that they've done something wrong. Hold on a
Just
second.
adding one more step.
Let's hear that. Let's hear that again.
I mean,
Before you can,
it's just putting it in there if it's no reason that we couldn't vote.
Y'all
yes.
listen again to this, folks.
Well, I don't know, I think somebody has to prove, prove we've done something wrong. We haven't done anything wrong. Like I
Well,
said,
I don't.
Wow. And Holly Cole says, is that a
Okay.
challenge? And Craig
Okay, wait a
Bell
minute,
says,
I'm
challenge
fixing to
accepted.
I'm fixing to bust, yeah, challenge accepted right now. Okay. Councilman Bubba, did you get a walking quorum email just a week or two ago?
You almost made me spit my tea out.
Did you get an email for a walking quorum?
Yeah.
I mean, let's prove whether something was. Did you get? I mean, y'all follow Louisiana law. I'm just wondering, did you get an email that was a walking quorum email? I'm just
And here,
asking for a friend. Just
we
wondering.
know Bubba Don does watch the show, and so
I like Bubba Don.
He's a
But
good guy.
this is what-
Yeah.
Look, all you guys up there, you're not looking at the bigger picture. You're defensive because you don't want anybody to throw a rock on anything that's happened since you've been up there or what have you. You've been there a long time. Do you not think that something wrong has went side? Do you think you can hide it all, or you fight to hide it all? I mean, maybe you can fight or whatever, but you can't say you're being transparent when you're not being transparent. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, it is. All right, we
I
got to
gotta
get
take
to
a
the
breath.
mayor.
I gotta take a breath.
Take a breath and breathe. We got to get to the mayor here. I want to see if Ryan Haygood is correct in what Tommy says. So I'm going to put the comment up here. So this is Ryan Haygood's prediction for Tommy's comment. Okay, here we go.
I don't think that's what anybody's saying, that you're doing anything wrong. I mean, I don't think that's saying anything at all.
I agree with Mr. Darby. We've been here a long time, and we do our damnedest to do things the right way. So, any other comments from the council? We've already asked the audience. We'll give you one more chance. Any comments from the audience?
Bueller.
Council, please cast your vote.
What did we miss Darby's?
Well,
apparently we missed Darby's question. You may have to go back. We missed Darby's question to Tommy Chandler, because where is Tommy Chandler on all this? Now, I will point out in the agenda, what y'all will notice is that on the agenda, the mayor's office has two little check boxes on where they stand on things. On this, Tommy Chandler didn't check supportive. He checked noted. So he come into this meeting. Here's a transparency, Mr. Transparency. He has a opportunity to promote transparency. Well, he didn't support. He checked noted. But
Yeah.
fortunately, Darby didn't let him off the hook.
Yeah, I think this is it. Let me check and see here.
The city attorney explained it all, sir. That, that it's all, already out there, so we'd just be doing it, duplicating it,
Okay, so you're in agreement with the attorney opinion that it's redundant?
Yes, sir.
You are? Okay. And Mr. Smith, do you know of any other municipalities?
Yeah, somehow I missed it. Let me back up one more time. Let me make sure we're clear with it. All right, here we go.
Council, anybody have any more thoughts?
May I ask, Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
The ordinance before us, Mr. Mayor, do you have an opinion regarding this item?
Well, the city attorney explained it all, sir. That, that it's all, already out there, so we'd just be doing it, duplicating it,
Okay, so
But again, folks, let me switch over to switch screens here in a second, Duke. I'm gonna pull up the ordinance again while you're talking, and we're gonna take a look at that ordinance one last time, and then we'll start moving on or whatever. But here it is again, folks. All right, literally, it's just adding an affidavit. So technically, it's not duplicating what the state statute is, and then, as Duke was saying, if you look down here at the bottom, again, this is all in the city council agenda. Let's see here.
Keep going down.
Was it down here? Yeah, I think it's back up here.
It's actually above that. Keep going up.
Yeah, there we go, right there.
Page.
Yeah. So notice right here, there's the ordinance. This is the agenda item fact sheet. And notice right there that it was signed by Tommy H. Chandler as mayor, but not recommended, just noted. Very interesting.
Now, I would also point out, hey, Rex, since Bossier City follows state law, I mean, doesn't legislators and the governor's office have term limits?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do. I'm wondering about Bossier City. Does the mayor's office and recently we had a mayor's candidate that proposed term limits and anti-corruption activities. In fact, he plugged it all over his campaign materials. I can't imagine what candidate that was, but do we have term limits for mayors and for councilmen in Bossier City?
Hey, you know what I would settle for is some of our elected officials doing what they campaigned on and ran on, which is more transparency. Tommy, even if you didn't truly support this, here's a hint for you. You don't really get a vote on that except in a tiebreaker or whatever. So you should have just right then said, oh, yeah, I'm always for more transparency. That's what I ran on and campaigned on. That's all you had to say. Really? All right. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah. Well, Tommy, or since you follow state law, I'm just wondering about a lot of those meetings in your office. Have you been following state law there? I mean, these emails with these walking quorums, have you been following state law there? I mean, since we are the bastion of law and order in Bossier City, I don't know. I'm just dying. Maybe you could help me find out the answer to Shed Road and, the Union Pacific deal. Maybe you could use your office that you convinced everybody to vote for you for. Maybe you could use your influence to get an answer to that, or the emails, on Manshack. Maybe you could get that. Well, how about the Link Coleman? I think a lot of people in Bossier City would really like to know whether or not, there were elected officials that, sought a quid pro quo. Ain't that what it's called? Ain't that what it's called, Rick?
Something like that.
I think a lot of people in Bossier would like to know the answer to that. I mean, since we're law and order in Bossier City.
Yeah.
I mean, where is Tommy Chandler? I think Tommy said you won't have to worry about him being absent. But I got to tell you, sure looked absent right there with his response to Darby.
Yeah, it sure did to me too. So, all right, folks. Well, that's the city council meeting. Everything from chickens to transparency and the lack thereof. I guess now it's time to move on to First Church.
Yeah, this has turned into a marathon, but that's all right. I'm fine with it.
It's not our longest marathon. We're not even close.
Oh, okay.
We're
Good,
not
good,
even
good, good, good.
close. All right, and look,
I
we're
am-
still at 134 plus or minus a little bit watching. We appreciate everybody watching. For those of you that kind of checked out for a little bit because you're waiting on the First Church stuff, well, here we go. So you might want to call your friends, say, hey, they're moving on to the First Church stuff. I can't even talk tonight. Okay.
Oh yeah, man, I gotta tell you, I can't get over the stuff said in Bossier City Council. I can't get over it. How can you sit down there and say the things that they said? How can you sit down there and say that?
It's like they're auditioning for Bossier Watch. That's what the city council meetings basically are. It's an audition to be on Bossier Watch for us to make fun of them.
So it's our fault.
It's
It's
gotta
our
be.
fault. We obviously have not given King David enough attention over the last several weeks, months, or whatever, and he needed to regain our attention. That's got to be what it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Here we go. So let me
What's
swap.
what's happening at First Church? What has went on down at First Church?
Well, we got we hadn't paid too close of attention to First Church lately because there hadn't been any new information that was relevant to us come our way. And again, our looking into First Church or First Bossier was just because we kept getting so many proton mails and all that about what was going on over there and how it relates politically and the whole political machine going on and all that good stuff. Just as a reminder, for those of you that are wondering why we cover a church, it's because they are very politically connected and active. Easy way to look at that is to go back to their service where they had both the mayor and King David on just prior to the mayoral election and the city councilman elections. But anyway, so we got a message in alerting us to the fact, a proton mail alerting us to the fact that there apparently have been some lawsuits filed in the 26th JDC about First Church. And I downloaded a copy right before the show. So I hadn't had time to really scan down them thoroughly. And, full disclosure, I only play a lawyer on Facebook, sort of. But this is one of the petitions right here. It was filed March the 9th. So it's, been up at the courthouse for a while. Again, we were just alerted to it. And looks like it's Randy Boyette, Gary Kane, Michael Cockerham, Ted Hayes, Raymond, I hope I say that right, Lesage, Jackie.
No, that is Ray Lassane.
Ray Lassane.
I can tell you, Ray Lassane's been a deacon down at Bossier for a long time. He's one of the old school guys.
All right, Jackie Lewis, Mike Pearson, Robert Perry, Wade Raspberry, Steve Robinson, Clinton Skates, Henry W. Smith Jr., and Ken Thomas versus First Baptist Church of Bossier. Anyway, and so, of course, all the legalese. Let's see. First Baptist Church of Bossier, Louisiana nonprofit religious corporation, blah, blah, blah. The plaintiffs are all members of First Bossier. And it says here, go ahead.
Well, now, this is the first one, right?
I think it is. I just grabbed.
The 1669-29, right?
Well, this is 1669-01. This is 1669-29 right here. This is where they ask for declaratory judgment.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to flip back to the other one. We'll come back to this one. So anyway, on or about. Go ahead.
So basically, this was the one that was declaring that Jerkovich's amendments to the bylaws were invalid and were seeking to nullify any of the actions that he's taken since he came in or around 2014 or something along that lines in regards to, the original bylaws that were in effect, correct?
Well, that's the 1669-29. The 1669-01 is that they weren't allowed to inspect the First Bossier's corporate records, which is the one I've got pulled up right now. Then we'll get to the one about the bylaw situation. Okay. So this suit is on or about June 8th of 2021. Some of the members requested to inspect First Baptist Bossier's corporate records under RS 12:233. on or about December the 14th of 2021, the members sent a letter through their counsel reiterating the request to view the corporate records. Now, I seem to remember when we covered First Bossier and when we posted the missing meeting or the missing message, which was back in September, I think September like 21st of 2021, if y'all want to go back and watch it. That was a sermon that Brad addressed a lot of this, and we got an audio file of that sermon and put together just, a quick video of it. But I maybe I'm crazy, I'll have to go back and review that, but I seem to remember Brad saying that, basically that they provided, the financial information or whatever that their members were requesting. I seem to recall something to that effect.
Yeah, I'd have to review as well too, but I remember him again, transparency. I mean, good gosh, I hope he wasn't taking advice from King David on transparency in Bossier City or Charles Jacobs.
Well, maybe he's going to run for city council. Who knows?
Good gracious, who knows? I mean, he had Mike Johnson. I mean, wait a minute, no, I take that back. Mike Johnson bailed out of there for some reason.
Left them high and dry. Tracy Long Davis reminds us that was our highest viewed show. Yes, we had well north of 200 people simultaneously. It was crazy. So thanks for reminding us of that, Tracy. But okay. So according to the suit, so again, I'm just going to and folks, this is actually the first time I've read it. I just downloaded it before the show. Apparently First Bossier objected to the request, stating it was concerned about confidentiality of its records, and that counsel for the members and counsel for First Bossier negotiated a confidentiality and protective agreement, and that was signed. The members, February the 15th of this year, attempted to exercise their rights. They sought to enter the office to examine the records. And again, I'm just scanning down real quick.
Now, Grady Davis says the jerk doesn't want everyone to know all the funds he is sending to his own conservative Baptist network. Now, you remember one of these shows we touched on that there is a split there, from the Southern Baptist Conference and this new group of people that are coming along. Well, I got to tell you, where is Mike Johnson? Because he was right there in the middle of all of this.
Very interesting. And this is interesting. So again, our good friend Ryan Haygood says he went off camera again Sunday. He needs better lawyers. That's interesting. Anyway, so I'm going on down here. Point number 5, despite being given reasonable notice, First Baptist prevented the members from fully, fairly, and thoroughly exercising their right as provided by law to examine the records. While producing some records, the members were largely prevented from examining the lion's share of records. And let's see, who was that had a comment just a second ago? Jacob Thomas says, provided 14,000 pages, none of which were requested. That's interesting.
Okay, wait a minute. I got something that was just sent to me hot off the presses. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hang on a second.
All right. Yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling down through this, folks. Anyway, so the plaintiff members pray this honorable court issue a writ directing First Baptist Bossier to comply with its duties or show cause to the contrary. And the normal legal jargon for there. Now, interestingly enough, Duke, one of the exhibits in these suits is their bylaws, 40 some odd pages. So if I have time, I may go back in and download those as well.
Now somebody just sent me, and I shared my screen to you.
Yeah, give me a second and I'll add that.
This is a part of the suit, and there is a really amazing name at the bottom of this. Now,
yeah.
I don't know if this name is supposed to be a part of the suit because I didn't see it but this is going to blow some minds.
Yeah, give me just a second here. Let me get this set up here. Share your screen out. It takes me just a second. All right, here we go. Oh, well, I recognize at least, I recognize one. That's clear as day.
Oh, now wait a minute. I just got a message on this.
Uh-oh, all right.
Raymond Cruz didn't sign on to the lawsuit. Raymond Cruz signed on to the new bylaws.
Oh, so that, all right, so yeah, let's be clear, that signature is not for the lawsuit, that's for the new bylaws?
Well, maybe these newly bylaws that are being contested in these lawsuits. But here's the thing. If Raymond Cruz signed on to this means he's signing on against, all the Baptist churches and signing on with some new Brad Jerkovich, as Grady Davis put it. How did Grady say it? Where was the quote? I can't remember.
The Conservative Baptist Network?
Yeah. I say the jerk doesn't want everyone to know all the funds he is sending to his own Conservative Baptist Network. Well, if Raymond Cruz signed on to this, then that means Raymond Cruz is aligned with Jerkovich on this. Boy, that's
well, this rabbit hole is getting deep.
Yeah, it is. Now we was already barking up. I'm not going to go there. We have done. What is our time? How long have we been on the show? I mean, we were already fixing to.
We've been on the show an hour and 47 minutes. Nowhere near our record. We're nowhere.
We're not even near a record.
No. All right. That doesn't mean I want to try to beat the record tonight, but we're nowhere near a record. Okay, so let me catch up on the comments here real quick. Okay. Jacob Thomas says, what is the date Cruz signed? Do you have that in your...
I don't. All I've got is a screenshot of that right there.
Okay.
That someone sent. But, I don't know. I got a sneaking suspicion Raymond's probably got chickens in his backyard in Bossier. I'm just saying. I'm thinking he's going to be one of them guys.
Extra tall privacy fence with chickens violating city code.
I mean, but the question is, does he give his eggs away or does he keep them? Does he share with his neighbors?
Yeah, because that was asked of that one lady at the meeting. Did she actually sell the eggs or chickens or whatever? And she's, oh no, we just consume them ourselves. But we give them out. We give eggs to our neighbors and stuff. All right. Anyway, circling back to the church.
But I don't know. I mean, I bet his chickens cluck. I bet they don't hum.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of that, why is it so quiet now from your end? I don't hear a chicken anymore.
It's pecking in it's pecking.
Is that the chicken?
Yeah, that's the chicken doing all the pecking in here.
Oh, hold on. I got a chicken sound effect, so here we go. All right. Anyway, squirrel. All right. Back to the first Bossier stuff. So this is the second lawsuit, which is 166-929. Again, you can, sign up for the Clerk Connect deal or whatever and go download these. We'll probably post them up, later on in a new post or something like that. This is a petition for declaratory judgment. I think looks like the same people, of course. Let me scroll down. They're all members. Here we go. Upon information and belief, since at least 1937, First Baptist has been governed by two sets of articles of incorporation, namely the set adopted on or about March the 3rd, 1937, and the articles purportedly adopted on or about June 17th of 2014. Let's see. Article blah, 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 37. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering if you've got a Raymond Cruz and signatures of, some new bylaws that were adopted. It would seem to me that maybe, I remember when I ran for the legislature that supposedly Raymond Cruz, he was there for the meeting. He was there present when Ryan Gaddy made accusations, and we never heard nothing out of Raymond Cruz, but there we see Raymond Cruz's signature. I'm just wondering it's sure funny. It seems like Raymond Cruz has a lot of involvement in a lot of things.
Well, and look, I hate to say it, but you know as well as I do that the Whisper campaign was not just that Gaddy had made some accusations, he made some very strong declarations at that same meeting, according to some people, which turns out that that's most likely not true. Like a lot of the stuff that comes out of there.
Yeah, and I understand that there's evidence out there that will disprove those things too. I sure do. I mean, and I don't know. I would love to hear Raymond Cruz's side of things. And, you know, there's a lot of things been popping up here recently. You know, you and I articulated strongly about churches being involved in politics, but yet, you know, some people are still defensive. Yes, Gene Ellender, y'all are making a lot of assumptions. Well, I'm just wondering, Gene, let's have Ray articulate, is that true or is it not? Because it was used as a campaign tactic not too long ago. You know full well. I mean,
what was supposedly said by certain people is the same whisper campaign we all heard directly from the campaign. So our assumptions came from campaigns.
I mean, and here's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what maybe Gene Elder, let's back up. Maybe Gene is right. Maybe Raymond's signature here, we don't know 100% know exactly what that signature is. I don't know if that's what he's saying.
Right.
You know, but what I can tell you is that one sitting congressman told me point blank that Raymond Cruz was present when certain things were said, and that he would attest to those being said. And since that, I've never heard those words uttered out of Raymond Cruz's mouth. So, Gene Ellender, did you hear it or did you not? Did you hear that story or not? I mean, if you're going to defend Ray, and you know what? I mean, there's some other information out there that's been going on with Ray, and you know, I'm not saying Ray's a bad guy. Maybe Ray doesn't know anything about all these things, but obviously Raymond has a role and a hand in some of this stuff. Maybe Raymond's going to have to come out and kind of talk about some of these things. He may not have any choice.
And folks, you have to remember, our primary concern here is honestly not what the bylaws of First Bossier say or don't say, or whether Brad produced the financials or not. Our real tie-in here, and the thing we're most concerned about, is the political tie-ins, because those supposed things that were said at supposed meetings and all that were absolutely put out by campaigns during an active campaign and election cycle. All right.
Yeah, and respectively, Gene, look, you know I love you. I'll do anything for you. You call me and I'm there. I'll help you. I mean, we're friends and we'll be friends after this. But respectively, Ray, you know what? I'm the only one that ended up on Al Jazeera with threats to my family, and the Gaddies were the only one with threats against them and, you know, disparaging images. I don't recall Ray ever getting anything negatively. In fact, I do recall me, while I was at the prison witnessing, you know, to inmates, you know, to accept Jesus Christ, their Lord and Savior, being criticized because I wasn't at a political event that Raymond was at the courthouse. But yet I didn't hear anybody on Raymond's team retracting, you know, none of that. I didn't hear none of that. So I'm sorry, Gene, there's two sides to every story, and there's right and wrong. And you know what? Maybe the chickens in Bossier are finally coming home to roost. We'll see.
We'll see. And our good friend again, Ryan Haygood, he's full of it tonight, and I mean that in a positive way. He's bringing up a point that is definitely on our radar, and we will be discussing. Interesting. We may get to that comment here in a minute. Okay, but back to this. So let's see. Dr. Brad Durkovich, acting as pastor, attempted to modify the 37 articles around June 14th. When he attempted to modify them, neither he nor any member of his alleged, that's interesting, alleged leadership team, including the Board of Trustees, complied with Article 6's requirements for charter amendment. So basically, yeah, this is a dispute over the articles and how the changes were made. Very interesting. Again, I'm just kind of scanning down this. So we'll post this on Bossier Watch for y'all to read, and there it is. Make of it what you want, folks. We don't really know that. Now it's up to a judge to decide.
Okay, well, here's my next question. So we know that the judiciary is supposed to be above board, but I got to tell you, I've got my reservations about the judiciary. So the first question I would ask is, who actually is the judge on this case? Because that might tell me exactly which way this thing is going to go.
Let's see. The attorney for the plaintiffs looks to be Allison Jones. Please serve. Was it Charles Smith? All right. Anybody that's familiar with it, correct me if I'm wrong. I think.
Yes, I think that's correct. I think it is Charles Smith.
I don't remember if it's actually on these, but in one of the documents in the clerk's deal.
Wait a minute. Isn't Charles Smith, isn't he a partner with Charles Jacobs? Don't they have a law firm together or something?
Well, I don't know. That's interesting. Could be
that may not be accurate. That may be wrong. I'm not, if anybody knows, chime in on that. So that makes me wonder. So the second suit, I think you were just covering it. It was a writ of mandamus, and it was a proceeding to force, the quote unquote corporation to actually do something, or that they have a duty to do. That I think that was is that.
That's a pretty quick summary of it. Yeah. Basically, they want to view the records that they asked to view and that they have signed an NDA or whatever to be able to view. And then the second one is in the way that the church articles were modified, apparently is not correct. So this is going to be interesting because.
Okay.
I would guess that if this suit on the 37 articles versus the 2014 articles, if the plaintiffs prevail, this could unwind a lot of things at the church maybe. Again, I'm not that familiar with it, so I'm just kind of, giving my little 2 cents.
Okay, so Tracy Long Davis says Eddie and Lorraine both hold political offices and are the other 2/3 of the monster. I'm wondering, I'm dying to know, how is it that First Bossier came to be so political? Now they got a lawsuit. I mean, Raymond's right here in the middle of it. And as you know, Rex, there were a lot of people recruited to take over the Republican Party, or to move things in one direction or the other, or to get control of. And then you've got, Eddie and Lorraine ran for the State Central Committee. Hey, even Raymond Cruz's legislative assistant, Allie Feaster-Smith, she runs.
Well,
interesting.
Let's go ahead.
In fact, guess who she ran against for State Central to take over that? Why would she do that?
Why?
What interest would she have in being in control? And let's never forget Richard Ray, the assistant city attorney. And I think maybe there's a Charles Jacobs tie in here, but that may be for another show.
Maybe. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this comment up with that segue, and to let folks know, again, our good friend Ryan Haygood, who, by the way, is a great dentist. And I just want to say, he does great dentures. He helped get my wife going and does great work. Anyway, so with that said, Ryan says, why is Raymond's legislative assistant working a full-time gig running elections? Why does he not keep office hours? Why is he paying her $1,000 a month or $1,000 a month to fundraise? That segues right in, or dovetails right into some upcoming show topics.
That is a great question. And I do know that, we have some public information requests out, and we're going to bird dog that a little further. And, I think Raymond's a good guy. I think he is. I think his intent's right. And I do think,
I
Rex,
agree with that. Yeah.
I think Mr. Krispy Kreme, I think he is a true conservative. I do believe that about him.
I would
And
agree with that.
to Gene Ellender, do I think that uh, Ray was the seed of all the negative stuff in? No, I don't. He was the candidate though. Therefore, that makes him responsible. He was the candidate. So you can't escape it. If you're in a political campaign and people go throwing mud, you end up owning it. So, and by all means, I would love to hear the negative that was thrown against Raymond, because I never heard a damn thing thrown against Raymond. The only thing I ever heard was that some people thought he couldn't screw in a light bulb, and I argued with him that I bet he could. I'll take that bet.
Yeah.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
Well, and look, I'll just say that, the first time I actually met Raymond was at one of the PAC meetings, and I did my normal Second Amendment questions, same deal that I did this evening, and his, I gotta say, his answer was spot on. And from that point, as a politician on where he stood with the issues, and as a conservative, I liked Raymond. I don't agree with, a lot of the campaign stuff that went on, and maybe some of that was absolutely out of his control or whatever. But yeah, I agree with you politically or policy wise. I don't have any problem with Raymond, but this is interesting.
Yeah, but in a lot of activity from people not involved in the campaign.
Right.
Bull crap. It was definitely people. I would argue that it's my belief it was people who were looking for a job, and it was other people that wanted to be able to control the seat. And they knew that they could control the seat because they could control Raymond. Now I'm wondering, was that Brad Jerkovich? Was that somebody else? Was it somebody else? I don't know. They're not ever going to just jump right out there and admit it. But here's the thing. I never saw any attacks on Raymond. Sure didn't see it.
No.
I saw attacks on Gaddy. I saw attacks on me. Definitely.
Yeah. Direct attacks on both Gaddys.
And maybe that's okay. Maybe Raymond and all them think that that's okay. Maybe our good congressman thinks that it's okay for those personal attacks and people's family. Maybe he's got no problem with that. But you know what?
Well,
I got a problem with it. And I got no problem in shining a light on them.
Yeah, and look, I don't want this to sound like we're trying to, or at least from my perspective, that I'm trying to carry the water for the Gaddys either. I mean, look, Ryan and I have had plenty of political differences, but you're right. Some of those attacks during that campaign were just borderline off the charts. So we'll just leave it.
Yeah,
leave it at that.
Off the charts. And to the 150 something people watching or whatever, you know what? I called for Ryan Gaddy to be censured on the PEC. I did it. I made the motion. Yeah. And you know who didn't support me? You know who wouldn't support it? Do you know, Rex?
No.
You weren't on the PEC at that time.
No, that was a little before my time. Would that have been he who walketh on water?
Everybody watching the show who had this anti-Gaddy thing, you know who wouldn't support it? Mike Johnson and Richard Ray.
That's interesting. Very, very interesting. Well,
I'm but what I got to tell you is now I got a little bit of a different perspective because I was on Al Jazeera and my wife
literally
and my kids and literally got threats from around the world sent to me.
Yeah.
So, but poor old Raymond sure didn't get nothing.
Yeah. Well, we'll, what's that old saying? Politics makes strange bedfellows. We'll see how all of this wraps up. And, folks, we'll kind of keep an eye on these lawsuits a little bit, but, we're not going to pay super close attention, because they're going to churn through the courts and do their thing, and we'll see how all this does. And, look, I'd like to say that, we're at about 150 people watching. Of course, we've got tons of comments. Whether we all agree with anything, Kaylee, I saw your comment about Ryan. Haygood. Let me just say, Haygood and I haven't always agreed. We've had a few differences on some political things and all that, but I know at his core he's a good guy, and so I can overlook a few little differences here and there, but we appreciate all the comments from folks. Whether you agree or disagree with us, it makes for great conversation one way or the other, and we appreciate everybody in the comments being very civil, when you comment and banter back and forth with us and with other folks. That's actually really good to see. Is that a sigh of relief or exasperation?
Well,
or is that a sigh that it's time to hit the finish button?
We need to finish because I need to apologize to everybody that touched a personal nerve. You until you've been a candidate in a contested race, and until I don't know how many people, unless you get to the level of being, a congressman or a senator or something like that, but in a little old house district, to find yourself, it's hard to explain that you find yourself on the BBC, Al Jazeera, and completely inundated and getting threats. I mean, I don't know that you can comprehend the pressure that it puts on you, your family. I mean, when you run for political office, you find, I'm not crying about it or whatever, but I'm just saying you can't understand the stress. And for people that'll carry the water for the other people who had a role in that, obviously I didn't do it to myself, obviously, but if you're going to make hay for the other candidates, that obviously it was to benefit them. And you know what, I may the good Lord bless you with all the blessings in the world.
Yeah, till you walk in those same footsteps. But hey, in the end, and we talked about this when we first started doing Bossier Watch, God puts the right people in the right places at the right times, even if it may not seem like it. And I think in the end, you're right where you should be right now politically, which is, here with everybody watching every Tuesday night, talking about the stuff going on around here and giving a little inside baseball.
All will be revealed, and that's all we're doing. If we hear about it, we're talking about it, we're going to put it out there, and I think that's what we need to do. And I don't believe that politics should be in the church. I don't. That's one of the reasons why. Let me give you an example, Rex. Do you realize that when I ran, I moved my church affiliation? I moved away from Cypress Baptist Church to a church outside of the district.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I did that. And the reason I did that was because I will never have on my conscience that I used my faith to get elected for a political office. I'm not going to do that. Maybe other people can say that, oh, that's okay. And I've heard the argument because Mike Johnson made this argument. He said, yeah, but people in the church need to know that you're a Christian. Well, you know what? If they ask me that, I will tell them. But I'm not going to be and bounce around to the biggest churches around just so that they know that, oh, I'm a Christian. And oh, by the way, my membership's going to be at the ones that are the biggest in the parish. No, that's not right. That's not the way it should be. And I think that's where we've gotten wrong, or where we've gone wrong. I think it's where First Bossier went wrong. You and I have articulated that in a show.
Yeah.
I think First Bossier became political.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
Well, yeah, we've said it over and over.
We've got pictures.
Yeah, if it weren't for that, I wouldn't care what was going on with the church. How many football fields or soccer fields they built? Okay, and look, I certainly can't argue with your philosophy on that. Of course, I think and we've talked about it many times, but I think you're 100% correct, and I respect you for that. And hey, we're all where we're supposed to be right now, so it's Going to work out one way or the other in the end.
You got that right.
All
Let's
right.
go, Bossier.
Let's let this chicken that's been dancing around up here on the screen rest. Go let your chicken get a good night's sleep. Your chicken had to work through a difficult task tonight.
Say no to chickens, Bossier City.
Yeah. No to chickens. Eat more Popeyes. All right, here we go. See you later.
No. Bye. Good night.
Bye.